The air was freezing, but the warmth radiating from the $80,000 cashier's check in my clutch burned hotter. Kyra stood on the cobblestone street outside the Grand New York City wedding hall. The sound of the string quartet drifted out, playing a tune my brother Ethan always loved. I had sacrificed 3 years of my life, working double shifts as a coder, to save this money. It wasn't just a gift, it was the down payment on his future home, a future he built with his fiancée, Mallory. I took one step toward the door when a cold, white envelope appeared in front of my face. It wasn't handed to me, it was simply thrust out by my mother, Janice, whose expression was utterly devoid of warmth. "Before you walk in, Kyra, read this," she said, her voice brittle and low. I opened the envelope. Inside, on expensive stationery matching the wedding invites, was a single, typed letter. It read, "Your presence is no longer welcome. Your success has become a distraction and a source of shame for the family. Do not enter. Return home immediately." There was no signature, but I knew the source of the shame. Not me, but my success. I looked at the letter, then at the check, then at my mother, Janice. I didn't cry. I smiled. A cold, determined smile. That smile changed everything. I turned my back on the wedding, clutching the check, and drove away. They thought they were rejecting me, they had just rejected $80,000. This is the devastating true story of how my brother Ethan and his fiancée, Mallory, allowed my mother, Janice, to ban me from his wedding for being too successful. They didn't realize that in rejecting me, Kyra, they were rejecting their entire financial future. The final scene, when my brother realized what he had lost, made him scream. If you've ever been punished for your own success, hit the like button and subscribe right now. Kyra, didn't need the wedding. My brother Ethan and I hadn't been close for years. Since I became a senior software engineer in New York and he struggled to launch his own marketing firm, a chasm had grown between us. The tension wasn't caused by me, it was caused by my bank account. My mother, Janice, and his fiancée, Mallory, were masters of the subtle put-down. At family dinners, they'd exchange glances whenever I mentioned a work trip, implying my success came at the cost of my femininity or family values. The $80,000 cashier's check was my last, desperate attempt at peace. I knew Ethan and Mallory desperately needed the down payment for their tiny, overpriced apartment in New York. I'd spent 3 years saving it, sacrificing holidays and social life. The envelope was thick, tucked inside my clutch. My mother, Janice, stood there in her designer outfit, blocking the entrance to the hall. Her eyes were sharp, scanning the street to ensure no high society guests from New York saw the drama. "Did you read it, Kyra?" Janice asked, her voice tight. "The letter." I looked at the crisp, formal stationery. "I read it, Janice." "Source of shame?" "What exactly is the shame, Mom? That I can afford a nicer dress than Mallory?" "Don't be deliberately obtuse," Janice snapped. "This wedding is about showing stability. Your presence, your achievements, make Ethan look insufficient. And Mallory cannot tolerate that kind of attention being taken away from her on her day." I realized the ultimate truth. The ban wasn't about love or hate, it was about controlling the narrative and protecting Mallory's ego in front of the New York elite. I got back into my rental car. I didn't speed off, I simply drove away, calmly and deliberately. My mother stood rooted to the spot, watching, already convinced I was having a meltdown. She thought I was going home to cry. She had no idea the check for $80,000 was still in my hand. The twist, the author of the letter. I didn't believe Janice had written the cruel letter. The tone was formal, calculated, and targeting my financial status was not my mother's blunt aggression. It was the precise, vicious ego of Mallory, who was a struggling socialite trying to marry into stability. Flashback, 2 months ago, Mallory had cornered me. "You know, Kyra, no one likes a successful sister. You need to downplay things. You intimidate Ethan. She was trying to enforce the same toxic family pattern my mother had cultivated for years: be the resource, but never be better. The key was the stationery. Mallory insisted on ordering the most exclusive, custom-made stationery for the wedding. She had access to it. Janice was merely the delivery system. Mallory orchestrated the ban. I reached out to my trusted financial advisor, David. "David," I said, my voice ice cold. "I need you to confirm that the down payment check for Ethan is currently active. And I need you to initiate a full stop payment order on it, effective immediately." "Are you sure, Kyra?" "That's $80,000. I am sure. I am not funding the ego of a woman who banned me from my brother's wedding." Back at the New York wedding, Janice slipped back inside, convinced she had handled the situation perfectly. "Where is Kyra?" Ethan asked, nervously adjusting his tie. "She felt unwell, darling," Janice lied smoothly, rubbing his arm. "She sent her best wishes. And she dropped off her gift." Janice had assumed I left the gift in the car or had simply brought a small, token gift. She didn't realize the massive cashier's check was sitting in my clutch, miles away, undergoing the final stop payment process. The ceremony went on. Mallory was radiant, completely unaware of the bomb ticking outside. She had won the battle, but Kyra was banished, and her wedding was now entirely about her. During the reception, the gifts were displayed in a secured area. Ethan and Mallory walked past the stack of envelopes. "Did you see Kyra's card?" Mallory asked Ethan. "I bet it was a token gesture. She's too selfish to give anything substantial." Ethan, still feeling guilty, simply nodded. He hated that his mother had banned his sister, but he was too weak to fight Mallory's control. The next day, Ethan and Mallory began the exciting process of opening their wedding gifts. They were particularly anxious to find Kyra's envelope, eager to see how small her gesture was. They found a simple, elegant card from me. It read, "To Ethan and Mallory, I wish you a foundation built on truth and sincerity. I hope you find it. Kyra." There was no check. Mallory scoffed. "See? She's pathetic. She's worth millions, and this is what she gives? She really is petty." Ethan felt a deeper twinge of guilt. He knew his sister wasn't petty. Later that afternoon, Ethan's phone rang. It was David, the financial advisor who handled his down payment pre-approvals. "Ethan? I have bad news," David said. "Your down payment application has been rejected. The $80,000 we discussed from your family source is no longer available. The transfer has been blocked." "Blocked? But my sister, Kyra, was sending it." Ethan stammered. "The check was never presented," David replied. "And the source of the funds executed a stop payment order yesterday morning." The truth hit Ethan like a physical blow. The down payment was the $80,000 check. And the stop payment order was executed after his wedding. Kyra hadn't forgotten the gift, she had been banned and had retrieved it. Ethan rushed into the living room where Mallory and Janice were gloating over other gifts. "The down payment is gone," Ethan screamed, his voice raw. Kyra took it back. "The $80,000 is gone." Mallory was confused. "She didn't give $80,000. She gave a card." Ethan grabbed his mother's arm. "Janice. What did the letter say? The one you gave Kyra. Why did you let her take back the money?" Janice, realizing the sheer scale of the financial ruin, tried to deflect. I don't know. It was just a little note. She was being difficult." Ethan looked at Mallory, his face contorted in rage. "That down payment was the only reason the bank approved us." "Mallory. Did you know about a letter? Did you ask Mom to deliver a note?" Mallory's composure cracked. She was just being dramatic. "She makes us look poor." We deserved that money more than her. The realization was final. Kyra's shame was their jealousy. The ban was Mallory's attempt to assert dominance. The loss of the $80,000 meant the cancellation of their apartment purchase and the collapse of their fragile financial facade in New York. Ethan turned away from his new wife and his mother. His scream was not of rage, but of pure, devastated realization. You ruined everything. She saved us, and you repaid her with humiliation. Kyra received a barrage of calls and texts, pleading from Ethan, screaming from Mallory, and desperate threats from Janice. Kyra didn't respond to any of them. I sent a single email to Ethan, Mallory, and Janice's work accounts. Subject: The gift of sincerity. Dear Ethan, Mallory, and Janice. The $80,000 was intended as a foundation for your new life, built on generosity and truth. The letter you sent me, the one that called my success shame, showed me the foundation you truly chose: malice and ego. I withdrew the gift because you rejected the giver. You cannot build a stable life on unstable emotions. I wish you the stability you refused to grant me. I will not be your bank, your scapegoat, or your source of shame again. Consider the silence my final word. Kyra. I changed my number, moved jobs, and left the toxic orbit of my family in New York. My brother's scream was the last sound I ever heard from my old life. The return of the gift was not an act of revenge, but an act of self-preservation.